Brett McMurphy on 3 Sports has his bowl projections out and the teams to make the college football playoffs. We love to do this, Mick, where we say if this team ends up in this bowl game, are they happy, not happy? It's hard to do anybody to be happy in the SEC unless they're in the playoffs. Projections for Alabama, since we're talking about that. Where do you think Brett McMurphy has Alabama projection? First of all, I'll ask you, do you think Brett McMurphy on 3 Sports has Alabama as a playoff team or not?
No. He's probably got Alabama in the Cheez-It Bowl or the Pop-Tart Bowl. No, I'm just kidding. Probably like one of the lower bowls. I don't think that he's got them in the college football playoffs.
Do you think Brett McMurphy has Alabama in the college football playoffs?
I do not. I'm going to be consistent on this. I think most national writers are going to have Alabama anywhere from 15 to 20, which is going to be in the 8-4 range. And I think it's going to be more of a Outback Bowl, whatever that bowl is now.
Duke's Mayo Bowl, Charlotte, Alabama, and Louisville.
You got Pop-Tarts, Cheez-Its, the other one I was
Yeah, that's about 8-4.
It's about 8-4. Alabama fan base in the Mayo Bowl, Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to want to change. They will, like, it won't happen. Like, and nothing on field could get rid of Kalen DeBoer this year. But if they go 8-4 and he's getting mayonnaise poured on him, Alabama fans are going to want to change after 3 years. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of the way it is.
Brett McMurphy's bowl projections, bowl, B-O-W-L, not bold. Auburn playoff team or not?
No.
Auburn bowl team or not?
Yes.
He has them going to a bowl game, the Texas Bowl versus Kansas State. Happy or not happy?
Mick, I don't know how you feel about this, but Auburn hasn't had a winning record or a losing record since 2020. We brought up the fact that without Gus Malzahn on the staff, they haven't had a winning record. Does it go back to 07, 08? What was the year? Something insane, but it's been a long, long time. So I think in year one, for Alex Golesh to come in, implement his culture, and get them winning games in the SEC. And I think a lot of this also depends, Dunaway. Let's just say they're 6-6 or 7-5 and they go to a Texas Bowl. How were they in those 6 or 5 losses? Were they competitive against Georgia and Alabama? So there's a lot that goes into it. But I think on the surface, getting back bowl eligible and having a winning season, that's definitely a step in the right direction.
Do you have a Golesh expectation in the first year yet? I mean,
I didn't think they were that far off last year, to be honest with you. I felt like Hugh Freeze, in his body language and some of the things that he said, put Auburn in a spot where they had to get rid of him. But I didn't feel like when I was watching them that they were really that far off. It kind of felt like a team that was maybe a year away. Now, they lost some of those players in the transfer portal, but I think that they're due for a decent season. I could see them winning 8 games.
That would be a big first year for Golesh there.
Yeah. I mean, look, he goes 8-4 and he's getting mayonnaise poured on him. Then I think the expectation is, well, damn, we went to 8 wins. Next year we can be a playoff team.
And that could be tough, right? If you win 8 games. Because you go back and look at their season, they could have won 8 games this year. They couldn't put teams away.
Well, look, they start 3-0. They lose to Oklahoma, very controversial loss on the road by 1 possession. They lose in College Station to another playoff team by 1 possession. Georgia, they lose at home by double digits, but, if the ball is in to end the half, they win that game. I think we all agree with that. Then they lose to Missouri in double overtime. They lose to Vanderbilt in overtime. They lose to Kentucky by possession, Alabama by possession. So they were right there on the doorstep last year.
Happy or not, South Carolina in the Liberty Bowl.
I think South Carolina has to stomach the fact that this is kind of what they are. Mm-hmm. And, if they're winning 7 and sometimes 8, maybe 9 games, then that's a pretty good year for South Carolina. South Carolina just needs to realize who they are.
I look at South Carolina, and I'm always surprised at how when you expect them to fall off the ledge, they come back with a big win. They beat Clemson or somebody else. But the consistency's been tough.
Well, that's the thing.
I think their coach is good, though.
But when you almost every other year right now.
But when you think they're going to be bad, they're good. When you think they're going to be good, like last year, they were a fringe playoff team coming off a 9-win season with Lenore Sellers coming back at quarterback. And there were a lot of people that were like, that's going to be the dark horse in the SEC. And they end up going 1-7 in conference.
Yeah.
Florida, Wisconsin in the bowl in Tampa, ReliaQuest or whatever it is. That's the last fan base that's not in the playoffs that I think would be happy. They'd be okay with that, I think.
I think that they're excited about what John Summerall can do. I think there are questions with the quarterback position right now. Again, ironically, there weren't a lot of questions last year with DJ Lagway coming back, and he wasn't consistent at all. But I think both those fan bases, if Wisconsin is being realistic, getting back bowl eligible would be good for Luke Fickell. Now, back to our conversation yesterday, I think 6-6, 7-5, he's probably out. It probably would take 8+ wins to make that fan base say, okay, let's give him another year.
The rest of these non-playoff teams, not happy with where they are. In the Gator Bowl, SMU taking on Tennessee.
No, neither one. Rhett Lashley, had them playing for a conference championship 2 years ago. They were in a college football playoff. That's not going to be good for SMU. And then Josh Heupel. It seemed like it was really going in a good direction, and it's a good, solid program. But Tennessee fans want more than 8 wins. Tennessee's not South Carolina. Like, South Carolina needs to realize who they are. Tennessee should be playing for championships.
Do you think Joey Aguilar ends up getting approved, and is that good enough to put Tennessee back into the conversation contending for the playoffs this year?
Yeah, it seems like everybody's getting approved, but Bediako. I mean, you look at it, and it's become pro sports. I think he's going to be back there. And I know the Tennessee fan base well, because I spent a lot of time in Knoxville, and they're starting to sour a little bit on Josh Heupel. I don't think it's everybody, and honestly, I feel like the guy's done a really good job, but compared to where he was when they took the program over. But if they have a year where they're not at least competing for the college football playoff, they lose to Vandy again. I mean,
how many big games has he won when you look at it? Like, last year, he was 0-4 against ranked teams. Like, the Alabama win in Knoxville was huge.
2022.
Yeah. The Alabama win in 2024 was really big. But outside of that, help me out with some of the bigger wins.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot. Missouri in the Birmingham Bowl against Oklahoma State.
What's going to happen to Drinkwitz probably, because it's unrealistic to think that Missouri's going to win 10+ games, every 2 or 3 years. I think Missouri fans probably will get sick of winning 8 games, and, sooner or later they're going to be like, we need to make a move.
Ole Miss in the Music City Bowl.
Oof.
How tough would it be on Pete Golding at that point?
Well, now that you have got Chambliss coming back, there's an expectation like, okay, we won 13 games last year. We were a play or two away from playing for the national championship. We should be back in the college football playoff. I don't think that's realistic, considering that Ole Miss, in our lifetimes, they just had the best season we've ever seen. And to follow that up with a new coach, I think that would be extremely difficult. If Ole Miss is realistic, I think 9 wins, even with Trinidad Chambliss, would be a good, solid first year.
This is Brett McMurphy's bowl projections out this morning on 3 Sports. Last non-SEC playoff team that goes to a bowl game, LSU versus Penn State in the Citrus Bowl, or whatever they call that now, in Orlando. That'd be the first SEC team missing the playoffs, the highest rated non-playoff team.
And what bowl is that?
That's the Citrus.
Boy, that's a lot of head coaching money for a Citrus Bowl. When you look at Matt Campbell, what he's getting now at Penn State, what Lane Kiffin's getting at LSU. I think Penn State fans, I don't know. I think both fan bases are disappointed. I really do. Because you got Rocco Beck coming in, although he didn't have a really good season this past year, he's got a ton of experience. One of the top 3-4 experienced quarterbacks in college football this year. And coming into last season, Penn State, it was college football playoff or bust. So I think their expectation is to get there this year. They were there 2 years ago, and I think the same for Lane Kiffin in year one at LSU. We've used this comparison, and I don't know if you agree. I think Lane Kiffin at LSU is going to be kind of judged like Kalen DeBoer. Like year one, 9 wins probably isn't good enough.
You agree?
Yeah, and don't you feel like Lane Kiffin is in that spot in his career now where it's time to be the guy that everybody thought he was going to be? I mean, when you look at the Ole Miss team that he put together and got into the college football playoff, and then the way that they performed, I mean, they could have beaten anybody, right? They could have won it. They didn't, but they could have, and maybe if he was there, they would have. Now he's got all the resources of the LSU, oil money or whatever they're going to be doing. They're adding players, not losing players off the roster. Unlike Alabama, I just think that LSU is going to be right there this year. Just because of the amount of talent that they have. But I also think Penn State could be good. I mean, they had some injuries last year, and I still can't believe they fired James Franklin a year after being in the college football playoff when you look at the injuries that they were dealing with.
Yep. Mick, you're an old school SEC guy. If I told you the 4 SEC teams that made the playoffs were Georgia, Texas, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma, how would you feel about that? My initial blush is that looks a lot like the Big 12 and Southwest Conference and not a lot like the SEC. But that would be the 4 SEC teams in there. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I don't think Texas and Oklahoma will make it. I think one of the two, probably Texas, when you look at their roster. But, it'd be bad for Alabama not to be in there. I mean, just because we cover Alabama, and then they've kind of been the face of the franchise, the SEC, for a long time. But
So you said Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia.
Georgia, Texas, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma.
Okay.
Those are, according to Brett McMurphy, the 4 SEC teams.
That's
that make
not
the
old
playoffs.
school SEC.
That is not old school SEC, is it?
No. I mean, this is going to be the thing. Like, all of the fan bases that have expectations to get to the college football playoff in the SEC aren't going to get there. And whoever is out, whether it's, Alabama, that is going to look like a disaster. If Sark was to miss the college football playoff again, when do we start saying, what the hell's going on with Sark?
Especially now that he's got Will Muschamp as a defensive coordinator. Muschamp's going to make $2.7, $2.8, and $2.9 million.
That's a lot of money. A lot of money for an assistant.
Yep.
And you've also got Arch Manning where Arch Manning was expected to be last year.
Right.
The way Arch was playing in the second half of the season, that is the Arch a lot of people believe that you would see in 2025 for the entirety of the season. And now you got that guy. So there are zero excuses for the Texas Longhorns.